Hi, I'm Coach Corey Wayne, and this is my video coaching newsletter. And the topic of today's newsletter is going to be She's Chasing Me. I'm not used to this, but it feels great. So I got a email success story from a guy. He's 49. He's in the UK, and he shares how easy and effortless his dating life has now become, that he's starting to apply 3% Man successfully. And so obviously he met a girl online. This particular woman he met through, I think, Facebook dating, if I'm not mistaken. So he had a first date that seemed to go well. He got in touch, and he was going to wait 4 or 5 days, I think it was, to get in touch with her. But she was pretty excited, so she actually reached out to him and asked him out. So they got together, had a second date, and then as the evening was getting late, she's like, wow, look at the time. Guess I'm going to miss that last train, so I'll be staying at your place. So anyways, they end up back at his place. They start doing a little kissy poo on the couch, and she says, let's adjourn to the bedroom. So obviously he goes to the bedroom, and they had a nice night. She stayed over, and he's pretty excited. So it's just, what I like about this email, it just goes to show attraction's not a choice. Most of us guys, when we didn't know any better, would meet girls that were really into us, and within the 2 or 3 weeks, they don't want to date us anymore, and we could never get an explanation why that was. Obviously, those that have read the book understand what ends up happening is we end up talking, texting, and basically turning the women off to the point where they don't even like us. In other words, we talk them out of liking us just by our unattractive behavior or our fears, our doubts about ourselves. And so the idea is the book helps you point out the attractive behavior from the unattractive behavior so you can clean it up. And when you meet a girl like this who already is predisposed to like you, things just go effortlessly, like in a movie, like a beautiful love story that just starts. Two strangers come together, and by the second date, she's staying the night. So it sure turned things around, because this guy's had some frustration, it sounds like, going out with girls that it just goes nowhere with. So he says, hi, Corey. My name is Bob from the UK. I'm 49, and I want to share a success story with you after following the principles set out in 3% Man, so to help other men who listen to this. After a run of disappointing dates over the past few months, my luck was about to change when I met a hot woman recently in her mid-40s on the Facebook dating app. So at the end of the day, all you need is one good one. Even if you have 10 bad dates or 30 bad dates, when you meet somebody that you click with, it's so refreshing. And it's easy and effortless the way it should be. A girl who's nice to you, easygoing, easy to get along with, open, she acts upon her feelings. She's not structured. She's not trying to make you jump through your butt and go through a bunch of hoops. It just is all so nice and so refreshing when you come across somebody like this, and it just effortlessly flows together. So when you take what I say seriously and you apply what's in the book, and if you're new and you haven't read it yet, you can read it for free at understandingrelationships.com. When you get there, just subscribe to the email newsletter, and it'll open up right in your web browser. So you get to try before you buy. He says, so I matched with this woman who's a 7 or 8 out of 10 in looks, and 5'10" with legs that go on forever. And we arranged a mid-afternoon date to meet for a walk and then go for a drink afterwards. The date overall went well. She was very chatty, and she did 70 to 80% of the talking. And as we walked, she was bumping into me, hence initiating physical touch. Well, that's what women do when they like you. That's how they let you know that touching is okay. And then, as the book says, you just slowly reciprocate. It's very natural. And the other thing to keep in mind is that women, on average, tend to say about 8,000 words in a day, and us guys tend to say about 2,000 words in a day. And so just by taking a sincere, authentic interest in who she is, getting to know her, getting her to talk about things she loves, she enjoys, asking her the kind of questions she enjoys answering. Obviously, you want to talk about things that elicit positive feelings, positive emotions, great memories, that kind of thing. You want to talk about her last 3 boyfriends that didn't go well, or, the relationships that didn't work out. You don't want to get into that. You want to keep it fun. You want to keep it light. So when she gets around you, you're just like a fun escape from a difficult and often scary world. After our walk, we went for a drink in a bar, and the conversation flowed, and overall, we both had a good time. However, whilst her body language was mostly positive, she was crossing her arms at times, which can be indication of negative body language. So when somebody does this and they cross their arms, they're covering their emotional center, which is where the rib cage comes together here. So that's just something to keep in mind. When it's crossed, maybe something is being discussed and they're uncomfortable. And then when they feel comfortable again, they remove their arms. It's just something to notice and to pay attention to. So as you're talking to somebody, maybe you get on a subject that's negative or whatever, or you might notice that you're saying something that may be negative about yourself, and you'll see that. You'll see her legs uncross and go from being pointed at you to being pointed away from you. So those are just little things to pay attention to so you can course correct. Because if you're talking and you notice that she was open to you and her knees pointing towards you, then she crosses her arms and her legs cross the other way to where she's pointed away, and maybe she's leaning away, then whatever you were discussing, that wasn't a really good conversation. So probably be a good idea to change the subject and talk about something else. And there's a video I did. It's also referenced in the book, Body Language That Attracts Women. So that's a good video to watch to understand that. Because as you're sitting there, it just seems normal for her, but you're able to read and see what's going on. You're like, oh, well, that conversation wasn't a good idea. Let me talk about something else. At the end of the date, I walked her to her car. We hugged, had a quick kiss in the lips, and we agreed to meet again for some dinner. Well, you shouldn't be making dates at the end of a first date. That's something that's right out of the book. But this girl clearly has high interest, and maybe she brought it up. But at the end of the day, there's something to be aware of. The lower the interest, the fewer mistakes you can make. The higher the interest, you can get away with those kinds of things. So it's just something to pay attention to. He's like, came away from the date a little unsure of her interest, even though we agreed to meet again as she was crossing her arms at times on our date, but I decided to follow what was outlined in the book, and I would message her in 4 to 5 days' time to arrange the next date. Well, another reason why you do that is you want to see, does she have a good attitude when you reach out? Is she happy to hear from you? Or is she pissed off that she hasn't heard from you in 4 or 5 days? Easygoing, easy to get along with, nice to you. So, and the other thing is we create the conditions where maybe she'll actually doesn't want to wait to hear from you. Maybe she's really excited and she reaches out to you first. So he was planning on waiting 4 or 5 days just to see what happened, because it's a good test of her attitude, a good test of her interest. Plus, it creates tension that she might be willing to relieve sooner by reaching out to you. And at the end of the day, the book is designed to create the conditions where the woman is chasing you almost immediately from the beginning. Because if a woman is chasing you, she's not getting rid of you. Our date was on a Sunday, and lo and behold, on the following Wednesday, remember he was going to wait 4 or 5 days, she messaged me at 11 p.m. saying, so when are we meeting for dinner? With a smiley face at the end. So she's eager. See how that works? The idea is you're trying to go a little slower than the woman is. You don't want to pressure her. You don't want to rush her. You don't want to come off as clingy and needy. You want to just come off as a guy that's taking his time. Guys that have choices and options. They're selective. They're in no hurry. They're in no rush. And at the end of the day, it's a scientific fact. Women are more attracted to men whose feelings are unclear. And as Thich Nhat Hanh said, you must love in such a way that the person you love feels free. So after about 3 days of not speaking, after having a good first date, and he's kind of unsure how it went, she's reaching out and wanting to know when she's going to see him again. That's a good sign. So it's like a game of chicken. What did Doc Love say? You got to outweight and outwit women, and that's exactly what he was talking about. So good job there. I was quite shocked by her message, as it was quite unusual for a woman to message first after a first date to arrange the next, which shows a high degree of interest. Well, the more you apply to things in the book, the more things go well for you. Even if you think I'm totally full of shit, if you apply what's in the book, you're going to get better results. But it gets even more interesting from here. So I messaged her back asking when she was free, And she pretty much opened her diary for me, giving me a range of evenings to arrange dinner, another indication of her high interest. Yeah, women are flexible. They open their schedule and they're just happy to meet you at any time. This is what happens when you have high interest. It makes it really easy. Just like the Adam Carolla quote in the beginning, when a woman likes you, all the doors start opening and all you got to do is walk through them. If the doors close in your face, then you walk away. And in this case, she's opening the doors wide and saying, "Come on inside, big boy. Park your car in my garage." Another indication of her high interest level was that she suggested that she'd like to travel to my area, which is 30 minutes by train, and I said I would pick her up from the train station at a specific time with the restaurant booked for 7:30 p.m. on a Saturday. I wonder if you guys can hear the puppies are out there, crazy playing and having a good time. I wonder if that comes through in the mic. Our date was arranged easily and effortlessly over a few messages, and I wished her a good night and then got off the phone. Well, the phone is for setting dates after all. Helps you remain mysterious, and it keeps you from trying to crack jokes and say stupid things that don't land and ruin your chances. So we just want to have clean, tight game that maintains the mystery, because less really is more when it comes to the ladies. So Saturday rolls around and my date messages me asking what should she wear on the date. In other words, what would you like me to wear so you can undress me later? That's a very flexible woman. She wants to look good for you. See how easy this is? Think about all those dates that you went out with. You spent all that money and it never went anywhere. You take her off 3 or 4 times. Every time you try to kiss her, she gives you the cheek. And then you go out like this and it's just easy peasy. This made me chuckle, as I think what she was really asking was, what would you like me to wear for you on the date? Well, that's actually what she was doing. Yet another indication of high interest. So I told her directly to wear a nice dress, and I said I look forward to seeing her later on that evening. Saturday evening rolls around, and I pick her up from the station, and she looks stunning. She was wearing a little black dress, which showed off her amazing long legs and figure. Plus, she had her hair styled especially for our date. She looked stunning. She was ready to get it on. But from here, the date got better and better. So our dinner date was great. The conversation was effortless, where she was talking 70 to 80% of the time. And we were having a great time. However, this is where our date gets even more interesting. But wait, coach, there's more. So 10:45 rolled around and she was checking train times when she looks at me and says, "Oh, I won't make my train, so it looks like I'm staying at your place tonight." Which I obviously agreed to. Haha, cheeky little mare, I thought to myself. Well, women help you when they like you. She came ready to get it on. All you had to do was not talk her out of it. Right, Momo? I was laughing inside as this woman basically said, "I'm coming home with you tonight, whether you like it or not," which I think she was secretly planning to do all along. Bingo. This is what happens when you get real high interest. It makes it really easy. So it's like when you think about how easy and fun it can be like this, it's like, why deal with all those other girls that have low interest, or they're a hassle, or they give you a headache, and they're just difficult. They want you to jump through your butt to please them. They're a pain in the ass. Too much boss girl energy. Well, hello, Elon. He says, so we get to my place, and we're sat on the sofa next to each other, and very quickly we're kissing and making out. She whispered in my ear, "Let's go to the bedroom." Wink, wink. Which I obliged to, and we went on to have a round of the Indoor Olympics. Well, congratulations. She sounds like she knew what she was doing. See how easy it can be? The next morning, we woke up early as she had to get home. I made her a coffee, we had a chat, and I dropped her off at the train station. This capped off the most effortless date I'd maybe ever had, where the woman aggressively pursued me, invited herself back to my place to have sex, and was a delight to spend time with. Well, even if you think I'm full of shit, if you apply what's in here, this is how easy and effortless it can be. It's literally the cheat codes to women. And I could tell she put a huge amount of effort into her appearance and effort into our conversations on our date. But there is a further plot twist. When I got home, I noticed she had left her jewelry on the floor next to the bed, 3 earrings and a nice gold bracelet. Marking her territory. Women always leave something behind. That's not an accident. They do that shit on purpose. Gives them a reason to go, did I leave my earrings there and my bracelet? So not only does it give a reason to get back in touch with you, it also is, if there's any other women around, basically say, this is my territory. This is my man. Now, she could have innocently forgotten to take them, but I think she might have deliberately left them behind. So we arranged another date, or more likely, she has an excuse to come around again. Very crafty, and time will tell. Well, get used to it because this is the way they are. So this caps off an incredible first 2 dates. This shows when a woman has a high level of interest in you and you give her the time and space for her interest to grow, women will pursue you aggressively and they will make dating them effortless and fun, which is how it should be. Yep. So I'll see how it goes. I guess Lila liked that. So, hey, stop it. So I'll see how it goes, as this woman is currently getting divorced and still lives with her ex-husband, who already has a new girlfriend. Ooh, that's a little bit of a messy situation. So you got to really pay attention in this because you can't be over pursuing. And in this case, she's ready to move on. She's highly motivated because it clearly looks like the husband has. But in this case, I'd let her do 100% of the reaching out, and then you just make dates. And so if she's living with the husband or ex-husband-to-be, now it makes sense why she wanted to travel to your area. And that's kind of nice because then you don't have to get into any, difficult situations, especially if he's jealous or, he was the one that got dumped, that kind of thing. But he already has a girlfriend, so you should be okay. But it's really important in these situations to let the woman, she's already pretty much doing all the pursuing at this point. So most of your work is done. You just have to wait for her to hear from her, and then you make the next date. My gut tells me this will probably only be a friends with benefits situation, which I'm cool with. However, I'll continue to apply the principles in your book, and I'll go with the flow. The point of this email is to show your readers when you date a woman who has a high level of interest and pair it with the principles in your book, dating is truly effortless and exciting. Yeah, you could tell he was having a lot of bad experiences and dates that went nowhere and time wasted, invested, being confused about women that he thought were into him, and they turns out they're not. And this girl just opens the door and just makes it really super easy. And this has come about randomly from a string of disappointing dates. So thanks for all you do, Corey. And my message to all of your readers is to choose women who show a high degree of interest and apply the principles in your book, and your dating life will be much more fun and effortless. Thanks, Corey. I'll keep you posted on what happens. Well, thanks for sharing that success story. If you got a good success story or an email you want to send in for consideration for a future video newsletter, you can send it to questions@understandingrelationships.com. That's questions with an S, and understandingrelationships with an S.com. So if you got a question or challenge and you want to get my help personally, you can book a coaching session by going to my website, understandingrelationships.com. Click the coaching tab at the top of your screen on any page of my website and book a coaching session with yours truly. If you haven't already signed up for our exclusive premium members-only content, in the video description of this video, there are links to join on YouTube, or you can join on Spotify, or our website, understandingrelationships.com. Just click the plans tab when you get there. You can do a 7-day free trial, check out all the great content you get, and if you choose an annual plan, you can get a 25% discount at the end of the 7-day free trial. So go to understandingrelationships.com, click the plans tab, sign up for a premium membership trial today, and until next time, I will talk to you soon.